So this morning's event about implementing policy against gender-based violence really had a lot of takeaways. For me, when we think about whole systems change, it can be overwhelming. So it was really clear to think about bringing all the stakeholders together and agree on a shared action together and then just start that change. And there are plenty of resources in place. So it's really about maybe starting with one small change rather than taking on the whole system, and then as you get started you can get better.
To really crack the problem of gender-based violence, we need to work together. The two key things that we need to do are to join up our data and to have really strong relationships across departments and cross sectors.
But it's crucial that we follow through there with really robust implementation structures. And I think two very encouraging and hopeful things for this strategy in terms of domestic, sexual and gender-based violence is the fact that we have actions with named owners. So this department or this agency or this part of society will do this and a time period. And then crucially, the fact that we're now legislating to establish a new agency, an agency that will have responsibility for coordinating the delivery, people whose full-time job it'll be to drive on implementation. And I think that helps bridge the gap or the journey that needs to be travelled from a good idea to successful implementation on the ground.
In terms of domestic, sexual and gender-based violence, our core issue for us would be that we really work towards a contemporary and shared and really clear understanding of the nature of the problem of domestic, sexual and gender-based violence. That's number one, that we have a shared vocabulary and a shared analysis.
I do think that the political will and leadership and I suppose what falls out of that is a critical factor. I think it puts an accountability on kind of us as public servants, as civil servants, and it puts, I suppose, the weight of the machinery of state kind of behind things.
I guess what I wanted to flag up was the importance of bringing a bit of creativity to these processes, particularly when we work with multiple stakeholders. I think often from a policy perspective, we're very drawn to lots of kind of documentation and meetings and doing things in a kind of very formal way. So working how we work traditionally and asking everyone else to come and join us at the table. But actually, we can be creative about how we work together. We can also bring kind of a bit of kind of more life to the process and make sure that it works for everybody and it takes us all out of our comfort zone so that we can come up with really creative solutions by working in more creative ways.
What we heard today was that policy is always written with a vision in mind, but it can be derailed by a number of unintended factors. So when we bring thinking and knowledge and evidence about implementation into that space, it allows us to really purposefully plan and consider the implementation effectively so that we get the policy outcomes that we want in the end.
I think it's so vital that we co-design both policies and the implementation of policies with broader society. You know, we live in a participative democracy. Being part of policy making isn't about just voting in an election in either jurisdiction. It's about actually coming together with policymakers and helping to co-design the policy and helping to co-design the implementation. And that's what we've seen here on an all-island basis. Northern Ireland, Northern Ireland, people brainstorming, people stress testing ideas, people sharing good experiences. Here's how we did it, here's how you might do it. And that can only benefit all of us in terms of successful implementation.
So actually networks like these that bring people together so they can learn from each other, they can share their experiential knowledge and that they can have that opportunity to kind of test out and iterate their ideas together. And for that to be an ongoing relationship around implementation is so important.
And from our perspective, really, you know, the response to systematic violence based on sex, gender and sexuality needs to be addressed not only as a science but as an art. We need to change our hearts and our understanding of the problem so that we can change it as a society.
And the thing that I will take away is that really there is something everyone can do right across society, from individuals to people in local communities to national agencies and the voluntary sector. This is a really complicated problem. It's going to take a whole of society approach, and everyone in the room was absolutely up for the challenge.